Hey, Wembong World Entertainment, and of course the whole Netflix and Warner Bros. Deal. A lot of questions need to be asked, and a lot of answers need to come, and come fast, regarding what happens next. And that is the thing, what does happen next? Now, right now, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon of Netflix owns Warner Bros. Now. They don't own Warner Bros. Now. Yes, the deal has been accepted, but nothing else has moved forward and won't for quite some time, if at all. And now there's a lot of roadblocks coming in. But we have Netflix kind of issuing statements regarding what's going to happen next and what the overall plans are. And their plans are what everyone should be concerned about, because one of the first things that the CEO of Netflix came out to say was, yeah, we don't really understand why movies are on the big screen for such a long period. There's normally a 45-day window. For him saying that instantly shows us that they want to get the movies onto the platform quicker. That's not good for the movie or cinemas in general. Plus, somebody should really sit down with this guy and explain to him how movies make money. They don't make money by putting them on the big screen for a week and then pulling them to put them on your platform. So the fears that all the actors and directors and even Hollywood themselves have regarding this deal, it's confirmed, because Netflix, even though they haven't said it out loud, they've pretty much confirmed that, yeah, we're not really going to push for big screen outings, which is ridiculous. But they've also now sent out an email. Now, it says it's sent it to subscribers, but I don't think that's the case. Why would you send it to subscribers? But it's them basically saying what is going to happen. So the message outlines what's happening now, what isn't changing yet, and what the combined libraries could eventually mean. Now, nothing can change yet, because again, they don't actually have any power yet. They don't officially own Warner Brothers. So they can, again, I said this in a previous video, it's like when you're buying a house that, yeah, you put in an offer, the people who own the house you're buying accept your offer, it's sale agreed. Doesn't mean you can all of a sudden move in and start redecorating the house before the sale is actually agreed upon fully. You know, it's not, the sign hasn't changed to sold yet, it's sale agreed. That's the thing here. So Netflix highlighted that the acquisition pulls Warner Brothers' massive catalogue under its umbrella, calling out Harry Potter, Friends, The Big Bang Theory, Casablanca, Game of Thrones and DC, now sitting alongside Stranger Things, Wednesday, Squid Games, Bridgerton and K-pop Demon Hunters. The email frames the buyout as a merger of iconic stories and an expansion of Netflix's entertainment slate across film, television, games, and live programming. The only thing I know that's live right now on Netflix is WWE. I don't know of anything else. I know they are trying to do some boxing matches, I think, and isn't one of the UFC matches that's going to be happening meant to be on Netflix? But that's the only stuff that's live at the moment, is like WWE. Games, the only game I know of that they've tried, which was through their service somehow, I think it was their app, was the Rebel Moon thing, and that collapsed. But you also notice that they're just talking about putting it across their slate, which everything about that indicates, oh, everything is just for going on to Netflix. So it also says, according to Netflix, nothing is changing today. Netflix and HBO will continue to operate as separate services while the companies move through regulatory and shareholder approvals. They promise to update users once the deal is officially closed, which could take months, could take years. But there is a massive wrench being thrown into the works, and it is, of course, Paramount. But we're also getting other things, such as headlines saying the Warner Brothers confirms it has accepted the offer in the initial memo that they sent out to everyone in the company. And then we're hearing this. Warner Bros. Netflix deal triggers strict legal controls inside of Warner Bros. Discovery, as employees warned what they can and cannot do. So that's interesting. But it's this headline that we need to take a look at, and this part of an article that is the big issue. Now, we were told and heard that should Paramount not get the deal through, they had a plan B, which was to go directly to the shareholders. That seems to be exactly what they're going to do. And this gets insane when we're looking through this and reading through this. So the headline is Paramount goes to war. Furious Ellisons move to block Warner Bros. Netflix deal. So wait till you hear this stuff. So in a plot twist worthy of a Hollywood thriller, the high-stakes battle for Warner Bros. Discovery has exploded into open conflict. What was supposed to be a tight but orderly auction has now turned into a full-blown corporate war, and according to sources cited in the New York Post, the team behind Paramount Skydance is furious over Warner's decision to sell to Netflix. And there's a very good reason. While many in Hollywood were under the impression this was a done deal, regulatory issues and a couple of angry billionaires complicate the matter. In other words, the Ellisons aren't going away quietly. Now, this is the part that's insane. Wait till you hear this. The New York Post reports that the bidding war came down to a razor-thin margin, a difference of 75 cents per share between bids. Paramount Skydance offered $30 a share in an all-cash deal. Netflix countered with a structure valuing the company at $30.75 per share, driven by an offer to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery's studio and streaming operations. What you've just heard there, people, is Paramount apparently lost out on this acquisition over 75 cents. But what is crazy about this is Zaslav held out for $30. Paramount offered them the $30 per share in full cash. Warner Bros. Accepted Netflix deal of $28 per share, and only half of that is cash. Wrap your head around that one. So when we just heard Paramount accusing Warner Bros. Of you already have someone in mind and you're doing unfair practices to make sure that that sale goes through, that seems to actually indicate that that's true. If they wanted $30 a share, Paramount offered them that $30 in full cash. They added 75 cents to it for some weird reason, but they accepted the offer from Netflix of $28 a share, and only half of that is in money. So less than 24 hours after receiving both offers, Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav and the board announced they had accepted Netflix's proposal. That's when everything blew up. According to the Post reporting, David Ellison and his father Larry Ellison are not merely upset, they're described as livid and actively preparing a plan to take their fight directly to Warner Bros. Shareholders. Now, that was their plan B all along, but now the fact that they are livid, this is going to be interesting to see what happens with this, because if they go directly to the shareholders and say, the CEO of your company just accepted $28 per share and only half of that is cash when we offered $30 in full cash per share, that would piss off the shareholders. The shareholders would bring into question Zaslav over, why would you do that? Why would you accept less money for the shares and not full cash when Paramount were offering you the full cash? So they are really pissed over at Paramount Skydance. A media executive with direct knowledge told the Post they think this was a rigged deal process because of the friendship between the CEOs, and they're betting the shareholders will be pissed when they find out what went down, which is exactly what I've just said there, where, okay, the head of your company was pushing for $30. We offered them the $30 and we offered it all in cash. They accepted a lower amount that's not all cash from the other company. Work that one out, because shareholders will say, what are you doing with our funding? What are you doing with our shares? Why would you get us less if we were offered more? So whether that allegation holds water is for regulators and shareholders to sort out, but the accusation alone signals how deeply the Ellisons intend to dig in. So everything right now that we're looking at, it's going to be a disaster right now. Like, truly a disaster. So we're looking at Netflix originally saying they didn't have any interest in purchasing Warner Bros. None whatsoever. They were like, yeah, that's just not for us. And out of nowhere did this U-turn come in and win. And not just did they do this U-turn come in and win, but they win with a lower offer than what Skydance was offering. That is so bizarre and strange. And the fact that the shareholders would most likely not know about this, because there's no way shareholders would agree to letting Zaslav sell the company for less profit than what they were getting from Paramount. So it's an absolute chaotic scene right now. But this isn't the end. Again, Netflix putting out statements saying, we're not changing anything as of now. Of course you're not. You have no power to change anything as of right now. But them also talking about, yeah, we don't really see why movies are on the big screen for so long. That's hugely important, because that shows you they don't intend to really honor the window of theatrical releases. We've already seen questions being asked, what does this mean for Dune Part 3 and Mortal Kombat 2 and something else? I can't remember which it was. It was like, means nothing for them because Netflix has no power over those releases. They're already slated in. They won't even have any control anytime soon by the time those movies come out. So they're completely 100% fine. There's no need to worry about any of that being changed. But they're saying all the wrong things right now. They're saying things to try and make it sound like, oh no, we're on your side. They're not on our side. They have no power, and the Ellisons are not out of this yet. And of course, they have Trump behind them, who will and probably will push his Department of Justice to block this deal go through. Which, I don't know whether Trump should be involved. Obviously, he probably shouldn't be, because that's a bit biased and crap like that. But at the end of the day, it would form too much of a monopoly and all this, give Netflix far too much power, do too much damage to the overall theatrical experience. And the fact that even movie makers and actors have written letters to the government saying this deal cannot be allowed to go through. You're not going to get Chris Nolan back. You're not going to have him work for Netflix, or Denis Villeneuve. You're not going to get any of these type of guys coming in to work for these, because they are determined we do not make movies for the small screen. So it's going to get very, very messy, very, very chaotic, but very, very interesting. So let's keep our eyes and ears open to see what comes of this in the next few weeks and obviously months and stuff. But what do you guys think? Do you think Warner Brothers purposely screwed over Paramount with this deal over 75 cents, but then accepted a lower share bid from Netflix? Let me know what your thoughts are on this. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.